Hello Brawlhallers, it's Berthan here, and in this video I will be showing you strings and follow-ups on Katars to help you maximize your damage output so that you do a lot of damage really quickly and even get easy and fast dogs on your opponents like what happened in this clip. Neutral light into recovery is a quick combo, but it is not true most of the time. It's only true when you hit the neutral light completely stacked, which is when your models are on top of each other. So when the enemy does dodge, then you have to predict where they dodge because you can't react to it, since they'll be out of the dodge by the time you can react, which is why you have to guess based on the enemy's previous dodges after you hit a neutral light. For these reads, we should always assume that the enemy will always dodge as soon as possible to avoid the recovery, so the timing for all the follow-ups will pretty much always be timed to hit them as they get out of dodge, which is why knowing the follow-ups beforehand is a must, otherwise you will usually end up following up too late or too early and the enemy will move away after they're out of dodge. If the enemy dodges up, then double jump into recovery is the most reliable follow-up. Neutral air sometimes work too, but it's not as fast and doesn't cover above as much as recovery, so I stick to double jump recovery only. Doing all the inputs really quickly is the best way to do this, so you have to act really fast when you think they'll dodge up. If the enemy tends to dodge to the sides or dodge in place, which is called spot dodge, then using neutral air is really good because it can cover the spot dodge plus a side dodge if you position correctly. If you think they tend to dodge more towards you, then jump straight up into a neutral air. You should ideally wait until you see them dodge before you jump into neutral air. The human delay plus the startup time of the neutral air should make it so that you hit right as they get out of dodge, so that they can't jump away. And if they tend to dodge more away from you, go for a diagonal speed dodge forward, which will give you a full speed dodge, so you can cancel it into a neutral air to hit them if they spot dodge or dodge away. It's important to time this neutral air to be near the end of your dodge, or else it will hit during their dodge frames and miss. And finally, if they have a habit of dodging downwards after being hit by a neutral light, then you can absolutely destroy them with a very easy read. Simply jump backwards, then down air forward when you're near the top of your jump. The beauty of this read is that it will hit enemies that dodges straight down and ones that dodges forward and down, and the timing is the same for both. Plus, you can follow up down air into any grounded move without worrying about a dodge, because the enemy's dodge is now on cooldown since they just dodged. So you can do some pretty crazy combos, which I will go over later. Although rewarding, the timing has to be really on point for this read, so if you're not good with the timings, then use neutral light instead, since it has a lot more active frames and can follow up with a recovery that they can't dodge since they just use their dodge. Now, let's go over to downlight. This move is a bit different than neutral light because it places both you and your opponent in the air next to each other, plus it's ideally used as an anti-air, meaning you will often hit enemies in the air and they could be behind you or in front of you, so the only reliable follow-up is to use neutral air since it hits all around you. If you hit the enemy close to you, then use neutral air immediately. If they're a bit higher up than you, then jump before you neutral air. You can try to read the enemy's dodge if you think the neutral air won't hit, but that's risky since they end up next to you. They could just hit you, so I tend to not go for those reads and just hope the neutral air hits. That's all you really need to know about downlight follow-ups. Neutral air is both safe and effective, so there's no reason to use anything else in most cases. However, there is a very fun and strong string you can do, which is pretty easy to dodge out of. So it's not very viable past silver elo, but if the enemy doesn't dodge at all, then it can bring them down from white to orange because the string is a loop. You start with downlight, then jump behind the enemy, turn around down air immediately. Chase dodge into a downlight, then repeat the whole process. The trick to making this string loop around is by hitting the downlight very close to the enemy so that the down air can actually hit when you turn around, meaning each time you do an additional chase dodge into downlight, you wait a bit longer because they're knocked back farther, so that you can downlight close to the enemy each time. The downlight into jump, turn around, down air timing is always the same, which is inputting the sequence as fast as possible. The only thing that changes is how long you chase dodge forward for. You can also downlight into recovery as well for a quick string if you hit the enemy above and in front of you, so it's not very reliable. The sidelight is the only move with a reliable combo, and that's also only at white damage. After that, hitting too far away will make it not true, but still works up to about 80 damage when you hit closer to the enemy with the sidelight. The combo is sidelight into neutral light. You can still use it as a quick string by chase dodging and cancelling it into a neutral light really quickly after hitting sidelight if they are knocked too far away at higher damages. If you think they'll dodge the neutral light, then try to read where they go. If they dodge back, then do a full chase dodge, then neutral light. If they dodge forward, just wait for it and then neutral light. And if they spot dodge, just walk up and neutral light them. Neutral light is basically the best follow-up because sidelight doesn't have that much advantage frames to go for anything else that's as reliable. You can do the combo and follow-ups with downlight as well, but it doesn't work nearly as well because its hitbox is a lot thinner, so I stick to using neutral light. And of course, you can follow up the neutral light into a recovery. If you do decide to go for sidelight into downlight, then you can follow up with neutral air or try the loop string. But like I said, the loop string is very easy to dodge out of. I don't see people dodging up most of the time after being hit by a sidelight, so I tend not to worry about it, but if you think the enemy will dodge up a lot, then follow them with a neutral air. And the last move with reliable strings and follow-ups is the down air. This move doesn't combo 99% of the time. The only exception is if you hit the enemy at the very max range and they are at white damage, and even then it's not consistent. The strongest follow-up for down air is sidelight into neutral light into recovery. This is an incredibly fast and powerful string, doing over 50 damage. It sounds really OP, but the sidelight into neutral light can only be reliably done at white damage, and only the sidelight into neutral light is actually true in the string. Everything else can be dodged. Which is why the only time this connects is often when the enemy does not expect it, and therefore doesn't match the dodge key. Or when the enemy's dodge is down, which you can make happen just like the example earlier about using down air after a neutral light. If the enemy dodges downwards, then you can do this combo for a lot of damage, but their dodge will still usually come up after neutral light, so they can still dodge the recovery after neutral light. You can also try to catch the enemy with another down air after the first down air hits, and then you can do the combo. This is pretty risky though, since the timing has to be really good, and down air puts you into a punishable position if you miss. Instead, you can use neutral light or a sidelight if the enemy dodges after you hit down air. Neutral light is often the strongest read after a down air because it has the longest active frames, meaning you have more room to input the move, so you don't have to worry too much about using it too early, unlike the sidelight, which you need to time better. The neutral light into recovery will also be undodgeable if you get the read off, since they just use their dodge. Sidelight, on the other hand, can only combo into neutral light at white and yellow damage, and the enemy's dodge will be up by the time you neutral light into recovery. If they tend to dodge upwards, then the best follow-up would be to jump or chase dodge into neutral air because of how much area it covers. So you can pretty much follow up in any way you want if the enemy dodges after you down air, but the most reliable way would be to neutral light because of its active frames and how it can string into recovery when the enemy's dodge is down. That being said though, if you have really good timing, really good reads, and can do the loop string really well, then starting the loop string when you read a dodge after down air on the enemy could result in an undodgeable string that can do over 100 damage. I know I said the loop string is pretty easy to dodge earlier, but if the enemy forward, backwards, or spot dodges after being hit by a down air, then they will be using an air dodge, which takes nearly 3 seconds to cool down, and if you downlight them during that time into a loop string, then they never actually touch the ground, which would actually reset their dodge to 1 second. The down air afterwards also bounces them off the ground, which then goes into a downlight, which brings them up again. And since down air and downlight combined takes about a second, this means that you can do the loop string a couple of times for massive damage during those 3 seconds that the enemy's dodge is down. It is possible to jump out of this string though, but most players tend to mash dodge instead of jump, so it is unlikely that they will jump out of it. So far, I've gone over the best ways to build damage, so now let's talk about strings and follow-ups to knock out the enemies. The best single move for knocking out the enemy is the side air. It has even more force than recovery and ground pound when the enemy is at orange and red damage. So knowing this, it's worth it to start looking out for it at orange and red. After a neutral light, go for a jump cider if the enemy has no dodge. If they have a dodge, then predict it. If they spot dodge, then wait for it, then jump cider. Or if they dodge away, then chase dodge into a cider. If they dodge behind you, then jump cider backward. It's not worth it to go for the cider if they dodge up or down. Pretty much the same thing for downlight, and you don't even have to dodge since downlight puts you right next to them. You just have to predict the direction of the dodge and then you can jump cider them when it's over. And for sidelight, it often pushes them far away, so most of the time you can chase dodge forward, then diagonally chain dodge up and try to cider. Or dodge forward, jump cider works too, minus the safety of the dodge if chain dodge is too hard. The other killing option is by gimping the enemy. Katars can do that very well, even able to kill enemies with Gimps at yellow damage. A Gimp is when you kill the enemy by repeatedly hitting them while they're off of the platform so that they can't get back. The best Gimp startups are ground pound and downer because they both cover a lot of area in the air and both pushes the enemy downwards pretty far. If you ground pound the enemy during an edge guard when they're at white and yellow damage, then use neutral air after letting yourself fall for a tiny bit so that they jump into it, which leaves them with one jump left since you just interrupted one of their 2 jumps. After that, reset your jumps by touching the wall, then predict the enemy's last jump and either ground pound, down air, or side air them. And then reset your jumps and repeat if you have to, but it will usually be enough. If you ground pound the enemy when they're past yellow damage, then set up for a down air or side air by moving to the side a bit, since they both hit diagonally downwards, and wait a little bit so the enemy has time to jump into it since they'll be knocked down pretty far past yellow damage. Down air is more reliable because of the area it covers, but side air would usually kill at orange and darker damage after a ground pound. After the down air, go for an immediate neutral air because down air doesn't push them away from you that far most of the time. If you somehow manage to hit the down air when they're noticeably in front of you, then an immediate side air follow up will finish them. When you start the edge guard with the down air, then again you can immediately neutral air or side air if they end up in front of you. And after this, it's risky to down air or side air again since you go too deep to recover, so go reset your jumps and then repeat. You can throw in some dodge reads in your edge guard, but it's often just a dodge up, so it's hard to follow up since you have to jump and then use a move, which means you have less room to work with since you're down a jump. So I normally don't go for those and just try to gimp as if they had no dodge every time. The only exception is if I am certain I can hit them with a side air before they can reset their jumps, since side air can push them really far off without letting them reset their jumps. And that pretty much covers all the follow-ups that I personally use. If you practice the strings and follow-ups I showed in this video, then you'll be able to keep the pressure on your opponents with constant hits and possibly get some quick stocks like I showed at the beginning of the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends. Check out my ultimate Katar guide that I will upload after this video. Shout out to Bazilon for being a Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.